everybody? Today we're talking Massdi? I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce it. But this is sort of kind of the replacement brand for JKM. However that arrangement is supposed to work. Of course, JKM being a diecast manufacturer, they do more than 164. I only have 164 stuff like this Toyota Crown. But Massdi has a very similar Toyota Crown. Same generation, same detail, same wheels. So, kind of suspect that they're sort of JKM. I thought at first it was supposed to be an upmarket JKM, which would have been interesting. Because JKM is an upmarket brand, but I guess it's just the full replacement. And maybe JKM's going to stay with larger scale, and Massdi's going to be the 164. I don't know. But we have my first two examples badged as Massdi's, the Toyota Hiace and the Honda Odyssey. So we're going to take a look, starting with the Hiace. True 164 scale says, the box is pretty big. We'll see how the model actually is. For reference, I have other 164 Hiaces out here. They're not that big. This one's got a little body kit on it, which is pretty cool. So it's not completely stock. And we're going to take a look. Now, I only brought out 5th gen Hiaces. I could have taken out the TLV one, but I don't need to. Now, look at that. So it's definitely a little different with the body kit. The wheels look insane. They look like AMG wheels, which is pretty cool. But let's take a look. So, right off the bat, very nice paint finish. You get lensed headlights. It appears to have like aftermarket headlights. They're not really depicted on the artwork, but it looks like it's got like aftermarket LED strips in there. Hiace on the front plate. Now this little valance, this color match valance, is like an aftermarket piece, not an OEM Hiace piece. The grille appears to be OEM, which is nice. Wheels are definitely aftermarket. They've got that like old school Mercedes look to them. The beige interior is interesting because most of these were utility spec'd and just had black interiors. This one's got the black steering wheel. I love the two-tone on the dashboard, the beige on top and then the black on the bottom where the glove box is. Red lensed taillights. You got the Hiace. Got the painted rear bumper, which looks like it's stock. Toyota emblem is very nice. The plate is a separate plastic piece. Rear windows are tinted, but they are a plastic piece. You can kind of see through a little bit. The exhaust there is a part of the base, I believe. It's just painted. Or no, it's plastic. Oh yeah, just the muffler's plastic. The rest is part of the base. And it's painted. So yeah, done like a TLV. Spare tire is metal, which is interesting because JKM would do real spare tires. Maybe they just forgot about on this one. But yeah, very, very nice Hiace. As a Hiace connoisseur, the front bumper is a little weird looking. It would look a little better without this front lip. But it is very, very cool. Now we can compare it to the other ones. The best premium Hiace, I'll have to say, is the I'm blanking on the name. BM Creations. This is the BM Creations. This is, of course, the 2019 facelift. Or 2018, somewhere around there. So it's got the different grille, different headlights, different bumper. But they're still about the same size because it's the same body. And pretty much identical rear end. The X-Car toy, or BM Creations has a opening tailgate. When all these brands start with just letters, like they don't even make up words. And the turning front axles. Here's the Kyosho one. This is a little older of a model, but this is the same body style that the Massdi one here is. The pre-facelift. Yeah, the headlights are a little big in the TLV. Or not TLV. Kyosho. There's taillights. Kyosho seems a little taller, a little skinnier. So I don't know which one is fully accurate. I'm going to say the Massdi for just being wider. Yeah, that looks pretty similar. The rear badge on the JKM, or the BM Creations, why do I keep doing that? Is sort of big. And then we got the Tamaka Hiaces. We got a pre-facelift here, which is done beautifully. It even says 2008 on the plate. There's the unmarked police van, which is a very hard one to get in silver. And then there's the facelift from 2019. Which has massive tail lights, by the way. Yeah, there is the Hiace. It rolls very nicely. This rear tire is sticking, but it does roll. And let's take a look at the Odyssey. So we'll start with the white one since we just did a silver Hiace. Now this is the JDM Honda Odyssey, and I believe this one specifically is an absolute because it's got the black wheels. Yes, it is an absolute. Oh, this is awesome. This is awesome. So this is a 5th generation JDM Hiace, or oh god, 5th generation JDM Odyssey. Now, different than the current generation here in the US, which I think is the 4th generation. Obviously much different. This is not a 4th gen, it's a 3rd gen. Oh, the Hot Wheels one's a 3rd gen. But you can just see, proportionally, the difference between a minivan and an MPV. It's hard to tell because the Hot Wheels one isn't to scale. The Hot Wheels one should be bigger. But they got pretty similar rear geometry with that rear window and the taillight. Especially if this was the current gen, 4th gen Odyssey. Taillights are very similar from the side profile. That does look like an Odyssey. This is the Absolute. So the Odyssey went from pretty much a station wagon to a MPV in Japan. Well, it went from a station wagon to a minivan in the United States. Here's the 1st gen, just to go through the Odysseys. Now, that Tamaka 1st gen is not very good. I'm going to say the headlights are way too big. But I mean, it's of era, right? This is copyright 1995. They couldn't be as refined as they could for the 2nd generation in 2002, which the United States did not get. And actually, the U.S. only got side graphics on imported models, which was legal for the Postal Service. The Postal Service very much loved these Odysseys, probably because they knew parts would be plentiful to fix them. But some postal services did import like Japanese exclusive cars, like Nissan machines. Why? Who knows? But that was the only way to get around the 25-year rule. If you were a post office worker, you could have a JDM import. Nowadays, they're all supplied for you, and they're all the Garmin vans or whatever they're called. Kind of boring. But rural places still will use personal vehicles or even imports. If they can. If they don't have the budget. But most places now do. If they don't, it's maybe a right-hand drive Jeep, which you can buy as a fleet vehicle in the United States, not off the dealer lot. But anyway, that's how some of them ended up in the United States with side graphics. 2nd gens haven't ended up in the United States, and they won't for a while now. They've got, 3 more years to be legal? Which is actually not as long as it feels like. But The second gen remained pretty much the same. It got that little blob in the headlight that most cars did of this area. Subaru is super guilty from that, but Mercury did it too, and plenty of other brands with that little like indent in the headlight. But otherwise, it remained mostly the same, just a wagon. And same thing when the third gen came around for Japan. Remember, this is a third gen in America, so yeah. They're not the same car. This is where the absolute trim came into play. And it was the fastest production Honda in 2004. The quote-unquote minivan. The wagon. Odyssey Absolute. In purple, very iconic color for the third gen. It did return for the fifth gen, or fourth gen. But Tomica couldn't do it. Another purple Odyssey, so they chose this maroon, which sort of looks like purple. The real one's a little more purple than this. So this one's not completely accurate, but I see why they wanted to change it up. This is the fourth gen. So the fifth gen became an MPV. You see, getting the sliding door, as the fourth gen did not have the sliding door. When did this come out, by the way? 2008. I believe that's all of them. This is the facelift of the current gen, I think. Or the fifth gen. Unless I'm just missing a generation. But I think this is the facelift. It feels like a big jump from that to now. But this isn't actually the Odyssey, which is why it retains the sliding door. This is the Elyson. Or Elyson? I don't know. I don't know how to actually say it. Elyson. This is the second gen. Sorry, these get confusing real quickly. I think this is a second gen Elyson. Might be a first. But I want to say there was one before it. Because I grouped it in with the... Oh, Tomica starts with the second. Or... No. Well... Hold on. Processing. I grouped it in with the fact that Tomica starts with first gens and skips the second gen. I think I made this one as a point where they did the opposite. They skipped the first gen and did the second gen. Same thing with the Noah and the Voxy. The only thing is... I'm trying to remember. Yes, because the first gen didn't have this light bar on the back. It was just... I mean, that was the biggest difference. It did look very similar like the first checking out Odyssey. Anyway, as I'm just yapping around about Honda Odysseys that nobody cares about, this is, of course, the Honda Odyssey. The fact that it's right-hand drive or left-hand drive is interesting because I don't remember the Odyssey being sold in the right-hand drive markets as the Odyssey. It should have been the Elyson because the Odyssey was, as far as I know, it was supposed to be exclusive to Japan, the badge. And so the Odyssey was supposed to be right-hand drive models, and the Elyson was supposed to be left-hand drive models, which doesn't make sense following the fact that both of them were originally sold in Japan. But I don't know. Japanese cars get confusing. Don't even get me started on Nissan and Infiniti, because that goes all over the board. But let's take a look at the model. Stop yapping about stuff that probably isn't even true, because I can't remember off the top of my head. And I've just now confused everybody with gen. And if you don't know what gen means, then you shouldn't even be watching these videos. Very nice lens headlights. They've kind of got the LED strip decaled in there. It's kind of hard to see it, but it's there. Honda emblem. Very nice grille detailing. That is exquisite grille detailing. And it actually might be a plastic. Well, the top part is, but yeah, it goes all the way down. That's a full plastic insert. That's very nice for customs. Very custom friendly. Other than the fact that you'd have to do something with the mirrors. There's your black wheels. Taillight. I love the taillight strip with the chrome trim. Absolute PHEV. There's your Odyssey emblem. You got your rear wiper on the back. Sliding door. A little bit of a oil on there. Dual sunroof, which is awesome. Got the rear bucket seats, which is also awesome. Pretty cool car. I love the chrome trim down here on the door cladding. What a great car. No suspension on these either. The Odyssey or the Hiace does not have suspension, which is something that JKM did pretty prevalently. Even with the IS that barely has any suspension, they actually did put it on there. It does have a little bounce to it, but there's not much. Let's take out the silver one. I'm gonna assume that the decals are the same. I specifically want to look at the white one. The white one is a straight white, by the way. I didn't really check that. The silver one is metallic, just like the Hiace. I know the boxes are silver too. There's very boring colors going on here, especially when the Tomica Odysseys look like that. And the Hiaces are all blue, but yep, pretty much the same detailing, which I'm not complaining about because it is awesome detailing. You got the chrome trim on the window and the black trim on the pillars. And oh, I didn't look at the base on the other one. Wow, nothing on the base, which is kind of surprising, but the exhaust is painted. It's all part of the base? No? No, look at that. The muffler and the tip there, that's all a plastic piece. That's nice. And then the rest, you can see where the division is. The rest is part of the metal base. But that's all plastic, which is awesome. The brakes, actually, see that little notch there? The wheels turn. That notch keeps the brakes in pace. So there is actually brake rotors behind there, which is awesome. And you can see the little caliper, too, on the front of the front wheel and on the back of the back. Plastic inserted license plates once again. There's your Honda badge on the trim panel, which, if it's built just like the North American ones, that is a plastic trim piece above the taillights. Which is sliding door. Awesome releases. Awesome releases. Great. Okay, something just jumped off the desk. Great castings. Absolutely love them. I totally recommend them. Thank you all for watching. Let's just fill this up with minivan and van madness. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, everybody. Bye for now.